The phone rang. Phoebe looked at Heather, confused. Are you going to answer it? No, don't worry, Heather replied. It's just that annoying creep again. Phoebe asked, even more confused. What creep? Wait, I never told you about that guy. She noticed the blank look on her friend's face, which pretty much answered her question. It's just a guy who somehow got my number and leaves messages with heavy breathing. Oh my God, Phoebe exclaimed, clearly frightened. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. No need to worry about it. I'm sure he'll stop phoning eventually. Phoebe was about to continue the conversation when suddenly the phone rang again. Heather only sighed in response, and Phoebe grumpily started walking toward the phone. What are you doing? Heather shrieked nervously. I'm going to stop that creep from bothering you. Don't, Heather began, but Phoebe had already picked up the phone. What do you want? She shouted into the receiver. Who is it? Answered a gruff voice from the receiver. I'm Heather's friend, and I want you to stop harassing her. Oh, you're her friend, said the voice. Then I'll definitely stop bothering her. After that sentence, maniacal laughter erupted in the receiver. I'll tell you what. If you open the front door, I'll never call again. Fine. Phoebe hung up the phone and went to the door. Heather realized what Phoebe was doing and started to protest. No, please don't open the door. Phoebe rolled her eyes. Chill out, it's not like he's going to be there. She opened the door and saw a completely empty porch. See, I told you no one was going to be here. She closed the door and locked it shut. Now that creep won't bother you. Before she could finish, a man jumped out of the closet next to the door and plunged a knife into her chest. Blood flowed from where she had been stabbed. Heather screamed and ran upstairs, hearing the sound of footsteps behind her. Then everything around her went dark. Anne threw the remote on the couch, hitting the power button, and tried to ignore the glare her best friend was throwing at her. Dude, why did you turn the movie off? Chloe asked. We were just getting to the most interesting part. Because these movies are so absurd. Anne rolled her eyes. I mean, seriously, would you have gone and opened the door? Well, no, admitted Chloe. But if they hadn't, then this amazing movie wouldn't exist. You and I have very different ideas of what awesome is. She started to get up to go to the kitchen when she realized that Chloe was still sitting on the couch, sulking. Tell you what, she sighed. How about we grab a bite to eat, and then we'll continue watching the rest of your preposterous movie. Chloe visibly perked up. Okay, let's see what we can find. She stood up, and they both walked to the kitchen. Anne decided to have what she considered a real movie snack. She grabbed a bag of popcorn and threw it in the microwave. While she waited for it to finish, and for Chloe to finish digging through the pantry, looking for something to eat, she decided to continue the conversation they had been having before. Honestly, I have no idea why you like those kinds of movies, she said, pointing to the cover of the movie they were watching. They're either about psychos stabbing teenagers or some deranged doll, making people cut off their limbs. Well, sure, some of those movies are total garbage, but it's just like any other genre. Chloe replied. If you dig hard enough, you can find masterpieces that will scare the hell out of you. To prove her point, she grabbed a bag of pretzels she found in the back of the closet. Anne shrugged. I guess they're just not my type. At that moment, the microwave beeped, causing them both to jump. Anne snatched the bag from the microwave and poured its contents into a bowl. Once she was satisfied with the smell of buttery popcorn, she and Chloe headed toward the kitchen exit. Chloe continued walking for a few steps, but quickly realized that Anne was no longer beside her. Turning around, she saw Anne standing in the doorway of the darkened kitchen. Hey Anne, is everything okay? Chloe asked, worried about her friend. Yeah, I'm fine, she replied. I just thought I heard something. Chloe started laughing. Wait a minute, Anne Douglas, are you trying to scare me? No, I'm not trying to. I swear I heard something. It must have been the wind, Chloe shrugged, or maybe that movie really scared you. That movie scared me, said Anne defiantly, trying to pretend she didn't see the smirk on her friend's face. There's no way in hell I'd be scared of something like that. Well, let's get back to the movie that doesn't scare you at all, she replied with a joking note in her voice. Chloe had already started to turn around toward the living room when she saw a black glove wrapped around Anne's ankle. Before she could yell to warn her, Anne was yanked back into the kitchen, causing the bowl to fly out of her hands and popcorn to scatter everywhere. Anne screamed and tried to grab onto something, but all she managed to do was leave fingernail marks on the wooden floor. Chloe ran up the stairs to her bedroom and closed the door behind her. She sat on her bed, scared and unsure of what to do next. Her phone was still downstairs, and there was no phone upstairs, so she couldn't call the police. She was trying to focus on surviving and not panicking when she heard the sound of footsteps slowly coming up the stairs. She started to panic and grabbed the baseball bat she kept under her bed for protection. "Stay back," she shouted. "I have a gun." She was hoping the thing would believe her bluff when she heard a knock on the door. She gripped the bat tighter when she heard a familiar voice. "Chloe, are you okay?" "Anne, is that you?" Chloe asked, not realizing what was going on. "Yes, it's me," Anne replied. "I'm sorry, I was trying to scare you, but I guess I went too far." "You think," shouted Chloe angrily, and was already heading for the door when suddenly a thought occurred to her. "Wait, what about the glove?" "Eddie? What glove?" Anne asked, looking extremely puzzled. "The glove that got you into the kitchen," said Chloe, again moving the bat to her shoulder. There was a short pause before Anne replied. "There was no glove that pulled me back. I was just pretending to be pulled. You must have imagined it." Chloe tried to think if she could have imagined the glove, but she couldn't ignore the fact that her friend's voice came from behind the door, sounding normal, if not a little out of breath. Dropping the bat, she walked over to the door and pulled the chain to the lock. She opened the door and was shocked to see not Anne, but a tall man in a white shirt stained red. Chloe was dumbfounded and tried to close the door, but he swung it open with force, and in the same movement he threw her to the floor. With one hand, he reached into his right pants pocket, pulling out a knife, from which blood was still dripping. In his other hand, he had a white box that he brought to his lips, and as he spoke into it, Anne's voice came out. "Surprise.